Just as I was about to be promoted to the network's primetime news anchor, the station suddenly brought in a stunning new reporter, Chloe, a Stanford graduate with a master's degree in journalism. Management announced a challenge. Whoever secured an exclusive interview with Ethan, the powerful CEO of Carter Group, would get the anchor position. I thought the victory was practically mine. After all, Ethan was my secret husband. But Ethan agreed to Chloe's interview and turned mine down. When I later found out that Chloe had been his first love, I knew our marriage was over. So I volunteered to be sent to Ukraine as a war correspondent. If I couldn't hold on to both my career and my marriage, I would choose the one that was still mine. And this time, Ethan, I was the one walking away. Chapter 1. A wave of excited chatter filled the office. Everyone had gathered around Chloe. Even our supervisor looked openly impressed. "No wonder she's a Stanford grad," he said. "Congratulations, Chloe. We gave out the assignment yesterday, and you already secured an interview with the CEO of Carter Group." Ethan Carter never gave interviews. That was common knowledge throughout the industry. Carter Group didn't need publicity from the media. Ethan himself was the brand. Chloe smiled modestly. "I was just doing my job." The newsroom buzzed with surprise and admiration over the fact that she had managed to land Ethan Carter's interview. Ever since Ethan took over Carter Group, he had never accepted an interview from any media outlet. I forced a smile. I had worked at the station for 5 years. I was one step away from becoming the network's primetime anchor. And then, just yesterday, we were suddenly told that a new host had joined the team. She was beautiful, highly capable, and held a master's degree in journalism from abroad. When she introduced herself, she appeared confident and gracious. "Hi everyone, I'm Chloe. I may have graduated from Stanford's journalism program, but I've never actually worked in this field before, so I don't have much experience. I hope I can learn from all of you." She was polite and approachable, completely without airs. It quickly won over a lot of our colleagues. But when our eyes met, the corner of her mouth lifted slightly. There was a trace of satisfaction in that smile. Not long after, our supervisor called both of us into his office. He had a task for the two of us. "Anna," our supervisor said. "The network wants an exclusive interview with Ethan Carter of Carter Group. So we're giving the two of you a challenge. Whoever secures the interview with Ethan gets the primetime anchor position." I felt a quiet surge of excitement. This was something I had in the bag. Because Ethan was my secret husband. When we stepped out of the office, Chloe extended her hand. "Nice to meet you, Anna." I raised an eyebrow slightly. She already knew my name. Her arrival had been so sudden. It almost felt like she had come here specifically for me. I smiled politely. "Nice to meet you. I'm Anna. Just call me Anna." We exchanged contact information and walked out of the building side by side. Then she spoke again. "Anna. Let's compete fairly." It was only a hosting position, yet her eyes were full of ambition. As if the thing we were competing for wasn't just a job. Chapter 2. Ethan came home late the night before after a business dinner. There was a faint smell of alcohol on him, his cheeks slightly flushed. His tailored shirt traced the clean lines of his body, his suit jacket draped casually over his arm. Under the warm light, the contours of his face looked sharp and defined, his strong nose set beneath dark brows. He lifted his eyes and looked at me. "Something wrong?" I asked the question directly. "Would you accept an interview with me?" He paused for a moment, a faint crease forming between his brows. After a brief silence, he said, "Anna. I don't give interviews. And I don't make exceptions." When management announced the assignment, I had been completely confident. Because Ethan was my husband. So when Ethan refused me, I felt a flash of embarrassment. Still, I gathered my courage and asked. "Even if I'm your wife, there's no exception?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. Even if you're my wife." I forced a small smile. "All right. I understand." Honestly, I figured that if even I couldn't get the interview, then Chloe wouldn't be able to either. The next day, when management announced that Chloe had secured Ethan's interview, I sat there in a daze for a long time. I couldn't even describe how I felt. It was as if, in that moment, I had lost my entire world. It wasn't until my partner Lily tried to comfort me that I snapped back. "Anna, don't feel bad. This whole thing was probably decided ahead of time." She's just a parachute hire. None of this is your fault. My disappointment was obvious. But what hurt wasn't just losing the promotion. It was the fact that Ethan hadn't chosen me. When I later learned that Chloe had been Ethan's first love, everything made sense. Chloe wasn't just competing with me for the anchor position. She was competing for Ethan too. After securing the interview, Chloe still acted calm and modest. Once the supervisor left, she smiled and suggested, "How about I buy everyone coffee?" The newsroom immediately buzzed with excitement. Landing Ethan Carter's interview meant every department would meet its performance targets 6 months ahead of schedule. If everything went as expected, our year-end bonuses would probably double. So even though none of them had secured the interview themselves, they would still benefit from the success. To them, Chloe had practically become a savior. One colleague blurted out, "Chloe, that's incredible. You actually managed to land the city's most eligible billionaire." Chloe smiled lightly. "We know each other." After saying that, she glanced at me. One eyebrow lifted slightly before she calmly looked away again. What sounded like a casual remark carried plenty of hidden meaning. It stirred a small wave of excitement around the room. "Chloe, you're gorgeous," someone said. "Don't tell me you're dating the prince of the business world." Another person chimed in, "Wait, I heard he's secretly married." Chloe's almond-shaped eyes flickered for a moment. Then she smiled lightly. "Just send me your coffee orders." Chloe didn't act superior at all. Before long, she had blended right in with the team. Someone invited her out for dinner after work. Chloe shook her head. "Thanks, but I already have plans tonight. I just got back from overseas. Some friends are taking me out to celebrate." A colleague sighed in disappointment, then suddenly widened their eyes. "Wait, don't tell me it's with Mr. Carter." Chloe blinked but didn't answer. At the same moment, I received a message from Ethan. "Dinner meeting tonight. I'll be home late." Although Ethan and I were secretly married, he had never been involved in any scandals. He treated me with respect. He always texted if he was running late. On birthdays and anniversaries, we exchanged gifts like any other couple. But I had a feeling. The person hosting Chloe's welcome dinner tonight was Ethan. Chapter 3. It's hard not to be curious about your husband's first love. Chloe was undeniably beautiful. At first glance she seemed distant, almost untouchable, but in reality she was warm and outgoing. That contrast made people like her even more. Her social media told a slightly different story. She posted often little thoughts about daily life, random complaints, selfies, travel photos. When I saw Ethan's profile picture among the likes, my heart tightened slightly. A faint bitterness crept in. He never left comments. Only likes. Besides Ethan, a few of his friends would occasionally like or comment as well. From the tone of their messages, it was obvious they had all known Chloe for a long time. After scrolling through the 6 months of posts visible on her profile, I was about to exit. Then Chloe uploaded another new post. In the photo, Ethan wasn't visible. But the arm in the corner of the photo, the wrist wearing a green Rolex Submariner, was unmistakable. I recognized it instantly. It was Ethan. "Thanks to my friends for the welcome dinner," Chloe wrote in the caption. Comments from coworkers quickly appeared beneath the post. "Wow, those look like some powerful people." Chloe jokingly replied, "Then that makes you friends with powerful people too." It was strange. In less than 3 days, Chloe's social circle had already overlapped with half of mine. She was quietly slipping into every corner of my life. Usually, when Ethan came home late from business dinners, I would leave a light on for him. Tonight, I stood beneath that same light. After hesitating for a moment, I turned it off. Just as I was drifting towards sleep, I heard the sound of running water from the bathroom. When I opened my eyes, Ethan was standing by the bed. His voice was calm, cool. "Why didn't you leave the light on tonight?" I reached over and clicked off the bedside lamp. "I forgot." He climbed into bed. The faint scent of body wash and the warmth of his freshly showered skin surrounded me. His strong arm wrapped tightly around me from behind. I froze for a moment, then slowly pried his fingers apart and pushed his hand away. "Ethan, I'm tired." His voice was slightly hoarse. "All right. Then sleep. I'll just hold you." Chapter 4. Chloe had already begun to seep into every part of my life. There was no avoiding her. She was new, after all. Management had assigned me to help guide her. Lily was furious on my behalf. Why should you have to do that? So you can make her look good? So she hooked the business prince? Big deal. If she's so impressive, she should just go home and be a rich housewife instead of stealing jobs from the rest of us. You've worked your heart out for this station for years, brought in sponsorships, done everything they asked. And this is what you get? I let out a quiet sigh. Guess I just have bad luck. And honestly, I really did. To reach that primetime anchor position, I had started from the very bottom, doing errands and running equipment. I had been through more than my fair share. In the blazing summer heat, I carried heavy gear across construction sites and farmland. When workers were cheated out of their wages, I chased down the story to help them get justice. Once, an angry contractor even threw a brick at me. My head was bleeding, but I didn't dare let my family, or Ethan, know. Another time, while exposing a corrupt developer over an unfinished housing project, I fell from one of the abandoned buildings. Lying in the ambulance, I remember crying and begging the doctor to save me. Even after the anesthesia kicked in and my mind went fuzzy, I was still mumbling about work. How many 5-year stretches does a person get in a lifetime? Watching Lily get more outraged than I was, I ended up comforting her instead. It's fine, I said softly. Maybe that position just wasn't meant for me. At least, through all of this, I had gained a friend who genuinely cared about me. Chapter 5. On the day of the interview, management first gathered us for a briefing meeting, going over procedures and precautions. Not many staff members were assigned to the shoot. I was one of them. This was Chloe's spotlight moment, and since the two of us had technically been competitors, my role ended up being more like general support. I helped organize the recording equipment, checked the cameras, tested the audio. The interview was scheduled at Carter Group headquarters. The moment we stepped into the conference room, everyone fell quiet. The room was enormous. Carter Group's building stood in the heart of downtown. A massive floor-to-ceiling window overlooked the entire city skyline. Ethan's office had the best view of all. Just before the interview began, I stepped out of the room. At that moment, Ethan pushed the door open and walked in. Tall and composed. His expression was cool and serious. His gaze landed on Chloe as I passed him on my way out. He gave a slight nod and greeted her first. Chloe smiled. Shall we begin? Halfway through the recording, a few of us were waiting outside. Ethan's assistant, Daniel, spotted me. He looked at me with clear confusion. Only after I walked over to the break area for some water did he finally speak. Anna, why aren't you the one interviewing Mr. Carter? I answered calmly. He declined my interview request. I took a sip of coffee. When I looked up, Daniel's expression was a mix of surprise and hesitation. I set the cup down. I should get going, I said. You're busy. When I returned to my seat, the office gossip had already started. Did you guys notice earlier? Mr. Carter was the one who greeted Chloe first. They must be rekindling their old relationship. I'm telling you, Mr. Carter definitely still has feelings for Chloe. I found the speculation almost amusing. Isn't Ethan married? I said lightly. Cheating isn't exactly ethical. And bigamy is illegal. Lily snorted beside me. So what if he said hello? She's just a parachute hire anyway. At that moment, someone from the interview team came out and called my name. Anna, we need you inside for a moment. I nodded, set down my coffee, and walked back in. The camera equipment was set up at the back of the conference room. Inside, there were only 2 people. Chloe, conducting the interview. And Ethan, sitting across from her. On the other side of the glass, he spoke directly to the camera. His low voice carried easily through the room. After helping adjust a few pieces of equipment, the interview was nearly finished. Just as we were preparing to wrap up, someone suddenly asked Ethan a bold question. Mr. Carter, is it true that you and Chloe were each other's first love? Ethan's voice was quiet. He gave a soft acknowledgement. A simple yes. Every face in the room immediately lit up with shock and curiosity. That was when I stepped out and found myself standing behind Ethan. One of my coworkers, afraid I might have missed it, excitedly called out to me. Anna. Did you hear that? Mr. Carter and Chloe were each other's first love. Ethan's tall figure stiffened almost imperceptibly. I walked over to Lily's side. For a brief moment, Ethan and I met each other's gaze. Something flickered in his eyes. A faint tremor. His brows tightened slightly as he looked at me, but his expression remained cold and distant. Journalists loved drama. And no one feared stirring up gossip. Mr. Carter, be honest, someone pressed. Have you never gotten over Chloe? All eyes turned to Ethan. He looked at me again, and this time there was a trace of panic in his eyes. I met his gaze calmly. Lily, I said quietly. Let's go. Chloe laughed lightly. As if I was the one who dumped him back then. He should be grateful I don't hate him. The room erupted. Wait, you dumped Mr. Carter? Chapter 6. Lily and I had just stepped into the elevator. Suddenly, a hand shot out and stopped the doors from closing. Ethan stood outside. His eyes were dark. His voice tight. Anna. Wait. Behind him, Chloe's soft voice called out sweetly. Ethan. Ethan glanced back at her and loosened his grip on the elevator door. I quickly pressed the button for the first floor. By the time he looked back, the elevator doors had already begun to slide shut. Only a narrow gap remained. Through the narrow gap between the closing doors, our eyes met. I remained calm, my face completely unreadable. Ethan's brows tightened, and a flash of panic crossed his eyes. Lily later told me I had been too calm. She had been angrier about the whole thing than I was. But the truth was, I wasn't calm. I had simply accepted it. For 5 years, I had worked my way up from the bottom running errands, carrying equipment, until I finally reached the position of on-air host. I had been only one step away from the primetime anchor desk. And then something went wrong. Chloe got the position far more easily than I ever could. My 5 years of effort had vanished into thin air. I had cried about it in private. But eventually, I let it go. Chapter 7. Lily seemed distracted for a moment. Only when the elevator reached the first floor did she suddenly speak. Wait, didn't Ethan just call your name? I'm not imagining that, right? I nodded. You heard it right. Once we stepped out of Carter Group's building, Lily grabbed my hand. Anna, the way he looked at you. Why did it feel like he knows you? Outside, I finally told her the truth. Lily, I'm married. She nodded immediately. I know. Your employee file says you're married. I gave a small smile. A bitter one. My husband is Ethan. Lily froze. When the realization finally hit her, she almost shouted before quickly glancing around and lowering her voice. Then why did he give the interview to Chloe? I thought about it for a moment. Probably because he still loves his first love. My marriage to Ethan had happened very suddenly. He was the one who proposed. He had been my senior back in college. I knew he had a beautiful girlfriend at the time. Ethan majored in finance, while his girlfriend studied German. He had grown up in Germany, so he was fluent in both German and English. During my senior year, I heard that he and his girlfriend had broken up. For a while after that, he seemed completely different. Quiet. Withdrawn. As if someone had shattered every bit of pride he had. My roommate gathered the gossip for me. Anna, it's graduation season, she said. Mr. Carter and his girlfriend just wanted different things in life. One of them wanted to go abroad to pursue their dreams. The other had to go home and take over the family business. She dumped him. Why don't you go comfort him while he's at his most vulnerable? I refused. But my roommate wasn't having it. He's at his lowest right now. And they've already been broken up for almost half a year. What are you waiting for? If you keep hesitating, someone else will scoop him up before you even realize it. Under her relentless encouragement, I finally gathered the courage to bring him a bottle of water at the basketball court. Ethan was playing like a man possessed. He completely crushed the opposing team. I lowered my head, my face burning, and held out the water. Ethan, do you want some water? At first, he didn't take it. I hesitated, about to pull my hand back. Then suddenly, he reached out and took the bottle from me. A faint smile touched his lips. Thanks. Other than that moment, I never dared to do anything even slightly intimate. Then came the day of Ethan's graduation. Out of nowhere, he confessed to me. He stood there in his graduation gown, holding a bouquet of roses and a ring. Anna, he said softly. Look at me. He leaned slightly closer, his voice teasing but gentle. Don't tell me you don't like me. The playful tone at the end of his sentence made my heart race. Blushing furiously, I said yes. That same year, after graduation, we got married. I joined the television station as a reporter. And Ethan went on to inherit Carter Group. Under his leadership, Carter Group only grew stronger. From the moment I first saw Chloe, I had a feeling. My marriage with Ethan was over. Even though I didn't know who she was at the time. Something instinctive between us had already begun to flare. The challenge in her eyes was impossible to miss. Every gesture she made was polite and gentle. And yet I could always sense the quiet rivalry beneath it. The atmosphere between us felt like an undercurrent waiting to break the surface. Instinct and intuition are rarely wrong about things like this. The moment I saw her, I guessed she was Ethan's first love. Which meant that from the very beginning, Ethan hadn't married me because he loved me. He married me because he wanted to escape the shadow of that relationship and maybe to prove to Chloe that he could live perfectly well without her. Or perhaps, he had simply wanted to make her jealous. Chapter 8. Lily was so shocked she could barely recover. Lily stared at me, her jaw practically hitting the floor. Snap out of it, I said. Let's head back to the station. Just as we were about to get into the car, Ethan called me. I declined the call. By the time we returned to the station, the team that had gone to Carter Group for the interview was arriving back as well. News about Chloe and Ethan spread quickly. One person told another, then another. Soon the entire department knew. Lily went around gathering information. According to the romantic version of the story everyone was telling, Ethan had been deeply devoted to Chloe all along. Devoted? If he were truly that devoted, he wouldn't have married me. In the retelling, the two of them had become the perfect golden couple. Their separation was painted as some tragic love story. Our supervisor looked at Chloe with even more admiration now. But the truth was obvious. Management was eager to keep Chloe happy because they hoped she could use her first love connection to persuade Carter Group to invest advertising money into the network. Near the end of the workday, the station director called me into his office. He looked down at the application form on his desk. Then he asked, Anna, I noticed on your employment file that you're married. Have you discussed this with your husband? Are you sure you want to go to Ukraine? I nodded firmly. I've thought it through, I said. I want to go to Ukraine. The station director hesitated, as if weighing something carefully. In the end, he spoke. I know you're upset about Chloe getting the primetime anchor position. But that decision wasn't mine to make. I answered him plainly. I do think it's unfair to the 5 years I've put into this job. But going to Ukraine, that's something I genuinely want to do. The director sighed. Being a war correspondent in Ukraine would certainly be a meaningful assignment. Take one more day to think about it. If you come back tomorrow and your answer is still the same, I'll approve your request. When I stepped out of his office, management was already announcing a celebration dinner for Chloe, both to welcome her to the station and to celebrate securing Ethan Carter's interview. Lily looked at me with concern. Maybe we shouldn't go, she said softly. I smiled. Of course we're going. Why wouldn't we? I had nothing to hide and nothing to be ashamed of. Seeing that I seemed fine, Lily finally relaxed and gave a small laugh. Good, she said. I was worried about you. Chapter 9. After dinner, the group moved to a bar for drinks. Someone suggested a round of truth or dare. It wasn't too outrageous, but it kept things interesting. Everyone voted in favor. Lily and I managed to dodge a few rounds by pure luck. Chloe, on the other hand, had a surprising talent for controlling the atmosphere. The whole group was having a great time. In just 3 days, she had already fully blended into the team. Then Chloe lost a round. One person started chanting, and the others quickly joined in. Call Mr. Carter. Yeah, call Mr. Carter. Chloe smiled sweetly, her voice carrying a playful hint of pleading. Pick something else. That one doesn't count. Beside me, Lily clenched her teeth in frustration. Watching Lily's expression, I actually found myself laughing. She leaned closer and whispered in my ear. Anna, aren't you angry? I thought about it for a moment. There wasn't really anything to be angry about. If anything, it could count as evidence of infidelity. That might even mean a better settlement if we divorced. Chloe agreed to change the dare. The new task read. Text or call the most recent person in your contact list and tell them you're drunk. Ask if they can come pick you up. Chloe accepted immediately and picked up her phone to send the message. Before typing, she glanced at me. Then she smiled faintly. I had a feeling the most recent contact in her list was Ethan. The moment she sent the message, her phone rang. The voice on the other end was low, with a trace of concern. You're drunk? Where are you? Chloe gave him the address. Someone nearby whispered excitedly. Wait, doesn't that sound like Mr. Carter? Yeah, that really does sound like him. Then it was my turn. And I lost. I chose truth. The card I drew read. Is there someone you like? Most people at work knew I was married. None of them knew to whom. But no one knew who my husband was. Kevin, one of the male reporters, asked the question with a slight flush on his face. So, is there? No matter whether you're in school or at work, topics like crushes and secret feelings always fascinate people. I looked directly at Chloe as I answered. I'm married. A flicker of disappointment crossed Kevin's eyes. You're married, he asked, surprised. I knew Kevin had liked me ever since I joined the station, but I had never acknowledged it. For a brief second, Chloe couldn't quite hide the smile tugging at her lips. I got married right after graduation, I said. But we'll probably be divorced soon. Kevin asked carefully. Why? Our relationship fell apart. The room suddenly went silent. Lily tugged lightly at my sleeve. I followed her gaze. Ethan was standing in the doorway. Tall and composed. He looked straight at me. His expression was cold, completely devoid of a smile. There was a distant, almost untouchable air about him, the kind that made people instinctively step back. And he looked angry. He started walking toward me, but then stopped. Ethan, Chloe called out. He turned and walked toward her instead. With his back to me, I couldn't see his expression. I only heard him say, let's go. Chloe handed him her bag with a slightly playful tone. Carry this for me. Ethan turned slightly, casting me a cold sideways glance. He paused for a moment without reaching for the bag. But under Chloe's impatient, coaxing tone, he finally took it. As soon as Ethan and Chloe left, the room exploded with chatter again. Wow. Mr. Carter's presence is intense. He's handsome, but when he's not smiling he's honestly kind of intimidating. That night, Ethan didn't come home. He didn't send me a message, and I didn't ask. We were really close to the end. Chapter 10. After Chloe called Ethan, he sent the location to Daniel and told him to pick her up. While they were talking, Daniel suddenly mentioned Anna. Mr. Carter, I saw your wife during the interview today, he said. Isn't she a reporter too? I noticed she was doing support work today. I asked her about it, but she didn't say why. Only then did Ethan remember that Chloe had joined the same television station. Which meant that Anna would probably be at tonight's gathering too. You don't need to go, Ethan said to Daniel. I'll go myself. The moment he arrived at the bar entrance, he saw a man leaning close to Anna, speaking to her with obvious interest. Anna smiled and said that she and her husband were getting divorced. The reason, she explained calmly, was that their relationship had fallen apart. Ethan's expression immediately turned cold. At first, he started walking toward her. But in the end, anger drove him in another direction. He walked over to Chloe instead. Later that night, he went to the racetrack. Only the roar of engines and the rush of adrenaline could dull the fury building inside him. Chapter 11. When I arrived at the station the next morning, I went straight to the director's office. I've made my decision, I said. I understand the risks and the difficulties that come with this job. And I know what it means to be a war correspondent. That's exactly why I want to go. The director nodded. All right. I approve. Anna, I wish you the best. Even if I couldn't become the primetime anchor, I still wanted to carve out a place for myself in this profession. When I returned to my desk, the latest round of gossip had already begun. The video of Chloe interviewing Ethan had been edited and uploaded. The media team had given it a headline. Billionaire CEO Ethan Carter breaks his silence for First Love's interview. Carter Group CEO versus rising star reporter. The view count was climbing rapidly. Everyone in the media industry knew that Ethan Carter never gave interviews. Now that he had broken that rule for his first love, the clip was spreading everywhere. Friends from other networks messaged me immediately. Anna, aren't you at City News Network? Is it true that Ethan Carter and reporter Chloe were each other's first love? After a moment of hesitation, I replied simply. Yes. But not long afterward, Carter Group demanded that the headline be changed. Our direct supervisor, unwilling to give up the traffic and attention, tried to play it off. It's fine, he said. Chloe knows Mr. Carter. If Mr. Carter likes her, he won't mind. No need to take it down. But I knew Ethan well enough. When he made a decision, he never backed down. If he wanted the interview taken down, he meant it. In the break room, Chloe was standing there as if she had been waiting for me. I walked over. The look in her eyes was triumphant, almost provocative. So the mask was finally slipping. "Anna," she said with a faint smile. "So you're Ethan's wife." When I went abroad for graduate school, he messaged me before he got married. He was hoping that would make me come back. You were just the backup option. I let out a soft laugh. Chloe, if he really liked you that much, he wouldn't have married someone else. Everyone says he's loyal. Devoted. You're back now, aren't you? So why hasn't he divorced me yet? I dried my hands slowly with a paper towel. Oh, right. If he's really that hopelessly devoted to you, why don't you go convince him to divorce me? The smug smile vanished from Chloe's face. She clenched her teeth. A moment later, Lily sent me a message. That was satisfying. She tried to act like the future Mrs. Carter. Now the official statement just slapped her in the face. I opened the link Lily had sent. Ethan had just created an official account and posted a statement. Recent rumors regarding me and reporter Chloe are false. We have no personal relationship. Even the interview video had been taken down. Across from me, Chloe stared at her phone in the break room, her face turning pale. Chapter 12. At the Carter residence. Ethan sat on the sofa, one long leg crossed over the other. The moment the door opened, he stood up. He cleared his throat lightly. "You're back." I walked up to him and gave a quiet response. I left an agreement on the table. Look it over when you have time. Just as he took the document, Daniel pushed the door open and rushed in. His expression was urgent. "Mr. Carter, Miss Chloe just called me. She said someone was harassing her at a dinner party. She asked if you could come over." Ethan frowned slightly. He picked up his suit jacket, draping it over his arm, and immediately headed for the door. Daniel hurried after him. My flight was scheduled for the afternoon. Originally, Ethan and I had planned to have lunch together. But by the time noon passed, he still hadn't returned. So I dragged my suitcase out the door and headed for the airport. Chapter 13. War was everywhere here. Shattered houses stood like broken skeletons in the smoke. Barefoot refugees wandered the streets. Some children dropped to their knees the moment they saw a camera, mistaking it for soldiers and surrendering in fear. In the middle of my live report, my voice caught in my throat. I forced myself to steady my breathing. Then I continued describing the situation in front of the camera. I had imagined many times what it would feel like to stand among ruins and gunfire. But once I was truly here, I realized words could never fully capture the damage war inflicted. Not just physically, but psychologically. Every day, the death toll rose. Entire blocks of the city had been reduced to rubble. Even under bright sunlight, the sky remained dull and gray with dust. Standing in the middle of it all, overwhelmed by the weight of it, the only sentence I could manage to say was this. I hope for peace in this world. Suddenly, I remembered the scar on my forehead from years ago, when I had cracked my head open during a reporting assignment. I had fallen from the upper floors of an unfinished building. I had been pelted with eggs while exposing corrupt developers. But compared to war, all of it felt insignificant. Chapter 14. When Ethan returned to the apartment, he picked up the document again. The moment he saw the words divorce agreement, he rushed straight to the television station. The station director hurried out to greet him. Miss Chloe is on the third floor recording a program right now. Ethan's voice was low. I'm here to see Anna. She's my wife. The news spread instantly through the building. Inside the office, Lily was already furious. I've never seen someone shameless enough to interfere in someone else's marriage like that, she said loudly. She's just using the ex-girlfriend title to do whatever she wants. Right in front of Ethan, Lily didn't hold back. And you're no saint either, she snapped. You and your precious first love deserve each other. You gave the interview to your ex instead of your own wife. What kind of man does that? Look around. Everyone in this office knows how devoted you are to your first love. She scoffed. Devoted? Please. Being obsessed with your ex while you're married is called cheating. It's called having no morals. The entire office fell silent in shock. People whispered among themselves about Ethan's behavior, about Chloe's shamelessness. Ethan's expression darkened. The station director kept giving Lily warning looks, trying to get her to stop. But Lily had clearly been holding that in for a long time. Once she started, she let it all out before finally storming off. The director quickly apologized. Ethan's voice was low and rough. "Where's Anna?" Before Anna left, the director had promised to keep her destination confidential. "Mr. Carter, I'm sorry," he said carefully. "That information is confidential." Ethan didn't press further. Then he noticed the personnel file lying on the desk. Anna Reed. Age, 26. Marital status, divorced. The word divorced made Ethan's heart tremble. His expression darkened, his eyes turning red. Anna had listed herself as divorced. Chapter 15. 6 months after Anna left, Ethan finally discovered where she had gone. Her phone was unreachable. All of her social media accounts had gone silent. Daniel pushed open the office door. "Mr. Carter, Anna flew to Ukraine. She's working as a war correspondent. I've already booked you on the earliest flight to Ukraine." Ethan's heart lurched. The moment he heard she had become a war correspondent, it felt as if the blood in his body stopped flowing. For a brief moment, even his heartbeat seemed to freeze. Then he snapped back to himself. He wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes, grabbed his suitcase, and rushed to the airport. Why would she go somewhere that dangerous? He was terrified of never seeing her alive again. Terrified of finding her hurt. While waiting at the airport, Ethan pulled up a video of Anna reporting from the front lines. In the video, she looked darker from the sun, thinner than before. When she smiled, the corners of her eyes lifted, revealing the little pointed canines I knew so well. Chapter 16. Soon, it would be time for me to return home. Life here had been far harsher than I had imagined. But before I realized it, 6 months had already passed. I sat beneath a flickering lamp. Someone tapped me on the shoulder from behind. I thought it was David. So I turned around with a smile. "Want one?" I searched half the city before I found these popsicles. In the dim light, the man's eyes curved slightly. There were tears in them. His body trembled uncontrollably. "Anna. You've lost weight. Did something happen to you?" I froze for a moment. Then I forced out a small smile. "Hi." Ethan suddenly pulled me tightly into his arms. I struggled just as hard to push him away. "What are you doing here?" He let go of me, his voice trembling slightly. "Anna. Why did you come here? Do you have any idea how dangerous this place is?" I frowned and looked at him coldly. "Ethan, what does that have to do with you?" He suddenly shouted. "I'm your husband." "Husband?" I let out a cold laugh. "Ethan, the moment you gave that interview to Chloe, you lost the right to call yourself my husband. Because you chose someone else over me." Something flickered in his eyes. "Do you know why that mattered?" I continued. "I worked at that station for 5 years. I was about to be promoted. Whoever secured the interview, you or Chloe, would become the primetime anchor. You chose her. And because of that, I lost my chance. Coming here was the only way for me to keep moving forward in my career. And I love this job. Telling the truth. Recording what happens. Changing how people see the world. That matters to me." Ethan took a deep breath and tears burst from his eyes. "I can't explain. I gave her the interview because she once helped me send something to a professor when she was overseas. If I had known this would be the result, I would have accepted your interview. Back then, I had asked Ethan if even his wife couldn't be an exception. He had said that even his wife was no exception. But he made an exception for Chloe. I've never had any private contact with her," he continued. "That night at the bar. Chloe called me, and I asked Daniel to pick her up. Later, I thought you might also be there, so I came. When I heard you say you were divorced, I got angry. So I walked toward Chloe. I'm sorry." His voice broke. "The day you left, I went to see her. But I made everything clear between us. When I got home, you were already gone." I smiled faintly. "But Ethan, there's no going back for us. The moment you had to choose between the two of us, and you chose her. Whatever the reason, I need someone who will choose me no matter what." I paused. "And the worst part is, I was absolutely certain you would choose me. But you chose her. So Ethan, I won't choose you either." Chapter 17. During my final month there, Ethan stayed close to me almost all the time. Nervously, he said, "I know you don't want me following you. But it's dangerous here. I just want to make sure you're safe." Sometimes the nights felt long and frightening. Under a sky full of stars, we looked like nothing more than two tiny specks in the universe. Suddenly, Ethan asked, "Why didn't you tell me about the scar on your forehead?" I touched the spot lightly. "It's already healed." There was nothing to say. He looked at me without blinking. "Today is your birthday. Do you have a wish?" I turned slightly to look at him. His eyes shone, full of hope. I curved my lips into a smile. "Divorce you." He froze. The smile vanished from his face. Chapter 18. When I returned from Ukraine, I went back to the station. I launched a new program. It was called Community Support. Chloe left the TV station, and the station director asked if I wanted to return to the primetime anchor position. I declined. Being a reporter is far more exhausting than hosting a primetime show. It means traveling constantly. But this was my original dream. The thing I truly loved. After witnessing so many life and death separations on the battlefield, I realized that the present moment is the best moment. Even though it's exhausting, I feel incredibly happy. Because I'm doing something I love. Chapter 19. Ethan finally agreed to the divorce. He said he loved me. I don't think he was lying. But he gave Chloe the opportunity to destroy our marriage. From the moment he gave that interview to Chloe, there was no path back for us. So move forward boldly. Don't look back. The road ahead was long. But for the first time in years, it was mine. At this point, my love life is a public service announcement. Free of charge.